Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the Flyers Draft Lottery. So you're saying there's a chance? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Ink. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. How you doing, Lance?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I am fresh off an awesome listen that you were a part of. That's right. You got to jump on with the guys at O&B Puck, right, and do a show with them guys. And I'm here to tell you, awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Great show. Great show. Great to have you on there with Isaiah and Chef. Man, that was good stuff, right?
Yeah, really fun. I always love sitting down talking to those guys. They're a source for some great Flyers knowledge, and they just are happy to share it. Let's say that. You know, they're everybody's got their opinions, and you know, and they're educated opinions. That's what I really like. And, you know, not like some of these other podcasts out there that are just, you know, armchair quarterbacks, you know, if it had to deal with hockey, but whatever, you know.
No, I'm with you. No, I'm with you because these guys always have, these guys always have, you know, the guys that have their pulse on the team. You know what I mean? They always have like Russ Cohen, and they always have like, you know what I mean, Kevin Dorso, and they always have, you know, a lot of good guys on their shows, and they always have a pulse of what's going on with the team. Okay. And so, yeah, we have a lot of respect for what's going on over there with O&B Puck. And we had Isaiah on, a couple of shows ago, right? We had him on. And so that's always great, man. So really appreciate you reaching out to Lance and having him on. Thanks to O&B Puckcast, Isaiah and Chef for having him on there. That was awesome. So, and a great show, guys. Great show. Awesome stuff, man. By the way, you guys got to go check that out too, you know. And while you're there, you could check out the Hockey Writers Ink on all of the same platforms, from Spotify to Google to iHeart to Apple. All you have to do is type in Hockey Writers Ink. Boop, we pop up, and you just follow us and give us a 5-star rating, and that'll help us get higher rated up there in the Philadelphia Flyers podcast. And so we'd appreciate that as well, too. And big thanks to Spreaker for all their help in allowing us to get to all of you. Thank you guys out there for being followers and being listeners to this Hockey Writers Ink show, man. I'm telling you, if it wouldn't be for you guys, we wouldn't be here. We love doing this because you guys like listening to us. So thank you guys very much for all your support and everything that you do. We really appreciate it. So, Lance, my friend, we got a couple things we need to talk about here, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. Lots happening in a short amount of time here.
Short amount of time. That's right.
It's going to get real exciting real quick here.
That's right. Real exciting real quick. And what we're talking about here is this. We're talking about episode 122, the Hockey Writers Ink, episode 122, the Flyers Draft Lottery. So you're saying there's a chance? Okay. All right. It might only be a piddly little 13% chance of the first or second pick. But hey, we'll take that, right? I mean, that's at least a ball in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Realistically, though, let's do a couple other things here that we want to talk about. First thing I want to talk about, and this was something that, Lance, you basically broke the story of this young player that was selected to come and play for the Philadelphia Flyers, and signed a contract to come and play for the Philadelphia Flyers, and was expected to come here in the summer. And unfortunately, when that was supposed to happen, a certain constabulary in Russia said, we're sorry, Mr. Ivan Fededotov, you have military obligations that you need to fulfill. And you broke this story, Lance, and I'm here to tell you, right? So that right there in and of itself goes to show you what's going on in Russia. because this young player was basically almost when he was ready to leave to come here to play, was basically stopped, apprehended, and forced into military service.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about Ivan Fededotov, of course, the Flyers goaltender. Everything going on in Russia with the war going on against the Ukraine and all that. He signed a deal with the Flyers and he agreed to come beginning of this past season or this current season. The Flyers are done. So
22-23 season.
Right. So he was all set to come over, and Russia found out he signed a deal. He was playing for the Red Army team. And they didn't like that because, the Flyers took it to them back in the Broad Street Bully days and beat their best team that was ever put together on ice. And they still a little butthurt about that. So, yeah. So what they did, they apprehended him. He came out of the rink. He was getting in one or two more practices right before he was due to come over and come into development camp and all that. And they apprehended him. They threw him in the back, just like the movies. They threw him in the back of a van and took him away to what we would call like MEPS. And really shot him up with shot him up with all kinds of shots. Sent him up to Siberia, from what I hear, and put a 6'7" goaltender on a submarine. And how horrible that must have been for a guy so big on such a small vessel. And, this is what he had to go through because he signed a deal with an American club after doing so well in the KHL playoffs and being, the best goaltender pretty much in that league that prior year. And, they didn't want him to go, so he didn't. Now, news is...
Right, that's why I wanted to talk about this, because now, fast forward a couple months...
Yeah, now his obligation is supposedly due up, and he's being released from military service. And magically, he's decided to stay in Russia and play.
For the Red Army team.
For the Red Army team, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, and I'm going through, and I'm like, wait a minute. I just saw Ivan Fededotov, and I read the story, and I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that he has been released from military service? Yeah, they probably said to him, okay, Ivan, you play for Red Army team or you go back to submarine. And Ivan was like, okay, what time does the game start? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I give you offer you can't refuse. But this is what's going on here. We're talking this in 2023.
Yep.
Okay.
It's scary, and it's going to affect this draft coming up as well. There's some great Russian players in this draft.
At least two or three.
And I believe that they will fall. They will fall just like Mishkov fell last year. That went to the Capitals. I think his name was Ivan too, or no?
I don't know. I can't remember, but I can tell you this though. Yeah, but I can tell you this though. It's funny how when Ovechkin talks to the Russians, suddenly now that player's allowed to come over and play. So, hey, Alex, can you go talk to your buddy and say something about Fedotov for you? So, would you please? Could you maybe talk to Putin and say, hey, buddy, you see that goaltender there? Yeah, he wants to play over here in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
No.
So, but here's to the point of all that. The Flyers probably had to have known something along the lines of the fact that this guy was not going to be able to come over here. or tried to sign him to try to prevent something from happening that they knew was going to happen, or they had to have known that he had to fulfill his military service before anything. Do you know what I mean? And maybe they hurried up. I mean, this was during Chuck Fletcher's tenure here, so I don't have any warm and fuzzies about all this. Here was this guy. It's like you even talked about with Yaniv Peretz with Pretzel. They had Pretzel in the camp. They didn't give him a contract. They let him walk. Why? Because they signed Ivan Fededotov? Like, you really expected him to come here?
Well, I think that was after all that news broke even. So yeah.
That's my whole thing, right? So you had to have known. You didn't plan on the fact that you knew that this really good goaltender wasn't going to be part of your organization. You had a good goaltender in Yaniv Peretz, and you let him walk. Right now, you're stuck. Like Chuck, thank you once again, Uncle Chuck, for sticking the Flyers with another, sad situation here. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, I think they messed up multiple times in that aspect. They knew Ivan was not going to be able to come over here, or at least knew, like, oh man, what happened? Like, I don't know the outcome of this. I better get a backup plan. And they had Yaniv Peretz, who played for Quinnipiac University and had an amazing season the season prior. And they brought him into, development camp, and they let him walk after he had a great camp, did not offer him a contract when they should have. And now he has since went on and won a national championship this year, beating both Michigan and Minnesota. So, and now he's signed by the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that values that type of player and views those guys as assets.
DC,
and instead, the Flyers decided, hey, this Felix Sandstrom guy and this Troy Grosnick is going to be, our guys to back up Carter Hart. We think they're going to be good guys. We don't need this guy, that's amazing talent. It's just
maybe that was Chuck's app.
Right. Maybe his app was messed up.
Telling him, no.
But
maybe his app was telling him that Sandstrom and Grosnick were better than Fedotov and Peretz. Look, all day long, Peretz is better than everybody else in the room, as far as I'm concerned, and in the goaltending room, with the exception, obviously, of Carter Hart, I think. But I think he would be a good push. Better, I think he'd be a good push for Carter Hart, but I think when you have to also look at Arison as well, too. Okay? I think Peretz is better than Arison, even all flipping day long, right? We saw what Peretz was able to face in the national championship, right? We're talking about number 1 draft picks that have already been drafted and draft picks that are going to be number 1 draft picks that he was able to shut down. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I want a goalie that has already faced the next wave of talent and has been able to shut them down. I want that guy on my flipping team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw what Devin Levi was able to do.
He's another one.
Northeastern. And he was a 7th round pick of the Florida Panthers. He was traded to the Sabres when you had Spencer Knight and everybody developing. But, you saw what he was able to do when he came in and, was after his collegiate career. He decided was done. He signed a deal with the Sabres, and then he came in and played in 7 games and won 5 of them. Going down the stretch and coming for a team he had never played for in his life and doesn't know his defense in front of him and all that. He was still able to win 5 games right out of the NCAA. And I think, Pretzel would be too. So
that's the whole thing about when we talk about a generational goaltender. It doesn't matter who you're on, what team you're on. That's like if you looked at, I hate to keep going back to this, but I keep going back to Dominik Hasek. Dominik Hasek played on some really bad really bad teams, but he was still able to win 6 games every year by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing that out of the current crop of goaltenders coming out of Philadelphia.
I don't see that out of the current crop of goaltenders, period, across the league. I don't see too many
true.
Elite level stars that are, can go in and get you, 10 to 15 shutouts a year and
well, maybe not quite like that, but
win 40 goal or 40 games a year, anymore. Everybody is always splitting games. Nobody's playing 67,
I'm with you.
70 games anymore and stuff like that. Nobody's elite level. I don't think. There's some great goaltenders in the league, but I don't think they're at the level that we're talking about with those guys. Yeah.
See, I think there's maybe one
or two.
Yeah, 1 or 2. I would put Vasilevsky.
Playing in Tampa Bay, maybe. Yeah.
I'd put Vasilevsky in that group.
Yeah.
He's a Vezina Trophy winner.
He's getting a little older, but yeah.
But he's a Vezina Trophy winner. He's a multiple cup winner, and man, I tell you what, it is tough to crack that Vasilevsky nut. It just is. Okay, that guy just covers the angles, and he comes out and challenges when he needs to. Do you know what I mean? He stays up. He lets you make the first move a lot of times. Do you know what I'm saying? Vasilevsky's good goalie. All right.
Yeah.
So that's been the whole debacle with the Fededotov news. That's unfortunate for the Philadelphia Flyers. Once again, Philadelphia loses because, well, you didn't either do your due diligence or whatever. Okay. Breaking news. Zamula signs for the league minimum. Hey, all right.
He was a restricted free agent. He didn't get a whole lot of chances to play up with the Flyers this year because of having Justin Braun and other Nick Sealers of the world. I think they should have sat them a lot more this season and allow a guy like Zamula to come up and be able to build upon his game. But, I think it was a good signing by Danny Briere. He signed him for under $800,000, and I think he is a guy that could. Yeah, I think he could come up and play some for the Flyers next season. Hopefully, they clear out some of the, older guys and let some of these kids play, knowing that they're in a rebuild mode. I don't want to see a guy that's in his 30s taking away spots from a guy that's trying to develop into who he could become. And somebody like Zamula or Cam York. I want to see those guys get more ice time, and Ronnie,
Attard, yeah,
as well.
I'm here to tell you, man, the fact that Justin Braun had 60 some games this year. What?
He got a bonus because he won so many games.
Well, that's what I mean.
Played in so many games, rather. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, what? Why is this player have so many games? I don't understand what. And then you got this. You're saying you're going to play these, and so that's why I'm still not getting the whole warm and fuzzies on this whole situation here in Philadelphia. Yeah, I feel great about the fact that Chuck Fletcher has been removed, right? But nothing else has changed other than Chuck Fletcher and Dave Scott. Now, I'm really excited about Helferty. I really am. I think he's going to be a much better, whatever position he is,
governor,
than what Dave Scott
named themselves.
Yeah, whatever Dave Scott was, CEO, right? I think he's going to be
much CEO better, and governor of the Flyers.
Whatever. He's going to be a much better governor than Dave Scott, because he has his heart is with the team, right? But you still have the same. You haven't changed anything other than Chuck Fletcher is no longer there. You still have Brett Flair there. Why? Why is he still there? Why is Ian LaPerriere still coaching the Phantoms, right? They made the playoffs, but they won one game and then that was it. Okay, so and that's the best that the Phantoms have been able to do for the last however many years now, right? And they haven't gotten any better with Ian LaPerriere per se, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they squeaked into the playoffs. Great, but they're not playing the same system that Tortorella's playing. You know what I mean? And I just don't get the warm fuzzies here, man, with what's going on with this whole Flyers organization. I see some things being done, but other things just seem to be being done in the wrong order.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got on that tangent last night when I sat down with O and B. A wrong order per se. They're going out and trying to land a president of hockey operations, but previously they got their coach. They fired the coach. They got a guy in John Tortorella, who they wanted to be the coach. Then they fired Chuck Fletcher. They named Danny Briere the interim general manager. It just seems backwards to me, right? You should have your president of hockey operations and who you want running this team and overseeing everything, right? Then you should find that GM, and they together should hire that coach. And I mean, I like Tortorella, but that's generally how it works. And to try to reinvent the wheel now, and I wrote an article earlier in the week about this, and making a case for why Briere should be the Flyers' next president of hockey ops, not the GM. They're trying to make the Flyers have said they want to come out and they want to lessen the importance of the president of hockey ops and kind of change his job a little bit to work more hand in hand with Danny Briere, I guess, as the interim general manager. They still haven't removed that label from him yet. But I mean, the draft lottery is happening. Like, if you're going to do it, if you're going to do it, let him know his job's secure, or if not, like, find somebody else, and do with Danny what you're going to do. But as it looks now, it looks like Danny Briere is going to be the general manager, but I'm not really happy in that regards. I think everything up to this point has been given to him by the Flyers and Valerie Camillo, who is the assistant governor or whatever she wants to call herself of the Flyers. And that's what it is. But anyway.
Okay.
But I think under these new terms, where they want the president to be more, I don't know, kissing babies, shaking hands, walking around the concourse, a liaison between them and the general manager, wants them to work a little bit more with contracts. This is all stuff Danny Briere would be great. He knows Valerie Camillo. She's the one that suggested he even go back to college after being done playing hockey.
At her suggestion.
Right, at her suggestion, he went to Wharton, which is a financial, great school, the best you can go to for finance in that terms. And, he took classes in being a GM, and he took classes in negotiations as well. So, then he was gifted a job by Comcast, pretty much, in basically being the ECHL Maine Mariners general manager there, a Comcast-owned team. And then he went on to be given a made-up job title with the Flyers as an assistant, special assistant to the general manager, whatever the heck that's supposed to be. And
maybe that means he's the assistant to the assistant governor.
I don't know.
I don't know, right?
These titles, who knows? But I'm not really 100% sold on him being the general manager, and here's why. Most teams have something lacking, right? Somewhere that the previous general manager has screwed up royally, has gotten fired, but there's still hope because a new GM can come in and have something to stand on, right? Something significant. Like Ken Holland did with Edmonton Oilers. Ken Holland came in to a team that already had Connor McDavid. He already had Leon Draisaitl, and then he started to, build around those guys. He already had star talent. The Flyers don't have that. They don't have any star talent. They don't have any, guy you can plaster his face all over town and get people to come to games just off his face alone and his, his hockey sense there. Other teams, they have draft pick compensation waiting for that new general manager. They were probably stuck in a rebuild mode for way too long. Their previous general manager was probably getting ready to bank on and selling assets away to be able to have draft picks, to be able to go out and try to draft the next great player or whatever like that, like Nashville Predators have done this season. And Dave Poulin's getting ready to retire, their long-term GM, and turn it over to Barry Trotz, who was their long-term coach there for quite a while. Now he's going to try his hand at being a GM. And David left him 13 picks in just this draft alone. In just this draft alone, he has 13 selections.
And cap space.
Well, yeah, and then cap space as well. But 13 selections to draft guys that you want to see playing for your team in the future. That is an immediate impact into changing the outlook of that club for the future, right? The Flyers don't have that. They traded, a lot of picks away to get Ristolainen. They traded a lot of picks away, to get quite a few different players that
not even just to get players, but they traded picks away to have other teams take.
Yeah,
Flyers.
Yeah. So they don't have that as well, right? And another thing they don't have is cap space. A lot of teams usually have cap space, and a new GM can come in and at least for some teams know that they can go out in free agency and spend money on getting big name guys.
Have some money to spend.
Right, and have money to spend, much like the Blackhawks do this season. They have been going through a rebuild for quite some time. And, Stan Bowman knew he was kind of on his way out. His teams had won multiple Stanley Cups. They were a dynasty in his era. And, he saw the writing on the wall that those guys were getting older. He started the, demolishing of that team, selling off of everything. Time penalty, and the fact that guys like Noah Cates, Cam York, and others, Justin Braun, all received bonuses because they reached certain milestones in their contracts that they were able to collect a bonus. So now the Flyers, even though they didn't have money to begin with, have 1.1 million and change less than they were already going to have.
1.8.
1.8, yeah, 1.8. So now they can't spend that money either. So they have no cap space. They have no star talent. They have no draft, not a wealth of draft pick. They have, they have a couple. They have a first round picks this year and all that, but they don't have a second round pick that was dealt and all this stuff. And the others leading up to the next couple of years were dealt as well. So now you're going to have an inexperienced GM have to come in and make major moves just to do anything at all to sign back his restricted free agents. Okay. You look at, multiple years. That's going to be hard to move for a rookie general manager, right? That's going to be hard to move for anybody. Sean Couturier is questionable. Who knows if he's going to be 100%? He's been injured the past couple of seasons. Chuck Fletcher made him the highest paid Flyer, and he has a monster deal for years. And Chuck Fletcher also went out and re-signed Travis Sanheim to a absorbent amount of money and years. Yeah, I think he has an 8 or 9 year deal that's due to start, and he's getting paid like Provorov. So I really don't get what he was thinking here. He's really screwed this team up for multiple years. In a sense, we have so many bad contracts. And then, of course, you know, the icing on the cake is Ryan Ellis, of course, his dead money contract. He's not due to ever play again. He's injured. He was damaged goods when they got him. They took a chance on him because simply they didn't have a right-hand shot defender to play on the first line. You know, and they lost, right? Ryan Ellis is hurt. He's 32 years old. He's never going to play again, and he's got $6.25 million due to him over the next 4 seasons. So every year they're going to have to put out that and have dead cap space. So what in the heck are they giving Danny Briere? They're doing him a huge disservice because he has nothing to start out with. All right.
So let's throw this. You didn't even talk about Cam Atkinson either, right? So there's another big question mark, right? And he's also making big money too, right? For at least the next 2 seasons.
Right. But he's rumored to be somewhat healthy and ready to go before next season. He's projecting. So fingers crossed.
Oh, wow. Man, I'll tell you, the savior has come. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No matter how you slice it, all right, you really want to give this as Danny Briere's first bite at the apple, where you want to bring in Danny Briere as a untested, unproven general manager that's going to have to deal with the situation that's going on with Philadelphia, and then do it without a hockey ops, right? That they say that they need so desperately, right? And how does that equate to still not having a hockey ops guy? I agree with you 100%, Lance. I think that Danny Briere would be a much better hockey ops person, and that him and Valerie, and they could sit down and jaw and sip coffee and do whatever they want to do and pick a general manager. But they need to bring somebody in, just like with what you said, Lance. They need to bring somebody in who's got some experience. They need to bring in somebody who has done some of these things in the past, okay? Or at least has some experience with some of these things that have been done in the past with other teams or whatever the case is. You can't expect to have a guy who's never been a general manager now suddenly has to deal with the fact that he has the 3 bad things that you can't have as a hockey team. You can't have no cap space, you can't have no talent, and you can't have no draft picks. I mean, so, hey, speaking of draft picks, that's going to happen coming up here real soon, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I believe Monday night, 8 o'clock now.
Monday night at 8 o'clock. That's right. Yeah. The Flyers are going to get a ball for the first 2 picks, right? That's what, 13%?
Yeah, 13 point something. Yeah.
All right.
So, never know.
Okay. So it could happen, right? It could be McWorld. It could happen. But more realistically, we're probably looking at 7, 8, or 9. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so I want to touch on this briefly because these are going to be the realities of things here for the Flyers, because I just 13% doesn't give me a big smiling grin about that, hey, we're going to get to number 1 or 2, I'm just not. 13% is a really bad one. Not good enough. So, okay, I'm thinking more of maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, right? So that's kind of where I'm looking. So let's just humor us and say that, hey, the Flyers get the 5th overall pick again, like they did previously in last season, right? So of the list of guys that you could select from the list of guys, or whom you think might be available, or whatever the case is, who would be your pick?
Well, it's hard to say. There's plenty of good guys there, but my pick would still be Andrew Crystal. I really, really like this kid. He's from, the WHL. He did amazing things in the WHL. Very hard league this year, and he did so without the help that others did. You look at some of these other players on the list, and you look at a guy like Will Smith, who looked great at all season
World
long,
Juniors,
and just you got amazing talent playing with you. I don't know what that's going to equate to when you come to a team like the Flyers and don't have really anybody to play with.
I'm with
that's
you.
Going to be a big question,
Yeah.
especially if they tear it down and try to, get rid of some people to, get some more assets or something like that. So a guy like Andrew Crystal can really go out there and do it all himself. He can skate through 3 or 4 guys, just like, Connor Bednard can. And, he can really do it all. And I really think this is a guy that is going to be a star player in the NHL. I really like him. I also like Edward Sale. If they stay around 7, I like him as well. I know the Flyers need a center, and the questionable Sean Couturier's health and Kevin Hayes not wanting to be here. And I mean, we had to rely way too much, in my mind, on Morgan Frost, who, did seem to pick it up a little bit this year, but, he was also playing a crap ton load more minutes than he probably should have in some situations. So is he going to still be able to produce that kind of numbers when he's playing a third line role or something like that? And I think Noah Cates is better suited for that as well. So, I it's hard to say. I gotta have to see where we end up and, where the Ducks fall there. But, Will Smith would be great. I think he does do a lot. He did have 124 some points, playing against collegiate teams and everything else this year for Team USA. But I don't want to just single one player out or one position out in that sense, because we need a center. I think if you're going to draft this high again, especially if the balls, fall in our favor and we get to move up a couple spots, this is a rebuild. You should probably go for best player available, and not usually on that line of thinking. I usually have one particular player in mind that I like, but it depends how far we move up or if we stay where we're at. You don't know what other teams are thinking ahead of you. And another guy I would say would be Zach Benson, who I would probably, I like him, but I would probably stay away from him, because if you look at the Winnipeg Ice, his stats may be inflated in that sense, because that team is stacked. That team is loaded with guys, prior first round picks and everything else playing with him right now. So his stats may be a little inflated too.
Okay. If the Flyers are able to move up, and if Andrew Crystal is available for the Flyers, if they do not pick him, then I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'm gonna probably be really upset, because if this kid falls to you at the 5th pick, if that's the pick that we get, the Flyers get, then they need to take Andrew Crystal. I too have Also enjoyed watching some of the other names that you've spoken of as well, the Zach Bensons and the Edward Sales, along with the Will Smiths as well. I'm more of a Leonard fan. I'm more of a Gabe Perreault fan. If I couldn't have Cristal or a Colby Barlow, okay, I would be more in that camp. Do you know what I mean? Than I would be in any of the other ones. I mean, I would even settle for Braden Yeager or Riley Height, because the Flyers need a center, regardless of what happens in the draft. And I quite frankly think that with the depth of center players in this year's draft, they should look hard. If Cristal is available, bang, you got to take him. I know he's a winger, but if you can't take a Leonard or a Smith, or if you can't get a Fantilli, or you know what I mean, you got to take Cristal. That's just how I think it is.
Yeah. And I mean, the Flyers said they're rumored to want to move up. So I guess they got a certain guy in mind that they would like. But I don't think they have the assets to do it, for one. For two, if anything, if your guy's not there at, say, 7, there's plenty of guys, like you just said, Dvorsky, for Slovakia. You got Leonard.
Oh, yeah, he's another good one, too.
Yager.
Yeah.
You got Perreault, like you said, Colby Barlow, Riley Height, Callum Ritchie is another center as well.
I like that name too, Callum Ritchie. Yeah.
Do you move back? It's going to come down to draft day. But do you move back if they give you a couple spots? Do you move back to maybe somewhere in the teens if they're willing to give up, say, a second-round pick that the Flyers don't have this year?
So riddle me this, Batman. What if, and this is just, I'm just throwing something out there, because the only way that the Flyers, I think, are going to be able to do anything with a number 1 draft pick is if you put Carter Hart on the block. It's the only way it's going to happen, or TK, right? Or potentially any one of those.
Yeah,
Provorov, or you put a combination of any of those couple of players, whatever you got to do, right? I think that's the only way you're going to even remotely get a sniff at a number 1. Moving back for Philadelphia makes a lot more sense for them in that if it garners them more picks.
Right.
Okay. Because at this point, they need draft capital. And what better opportunity to get it in this year's draft that's quite deep in centers, quite deep in forwards, wingers, things of that nature. Even the defense is pretty deep as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? So if they could do that and move back and get more picks, maybe you are the 6th or 7th or 8th. So maybe you move back to, say, 10th or 11th or 12th.
If somebody's hot for a certain player, yeah.
And you try to get another 1st round pick or a second round, or you know what I'm saying? That's
switch first and gain a second or something like that. There's plenty of guys in Bradley Nadeau. You from the BCHL. You have one of my favorite defensemen,
Lucas Dragovich.
Right. You have Moran in the second, who is a monster defenseman, who hopefully we have on our show here soon. Fingers crossed. I'm in talks to get him on here. So
I even like David Reinbacher too, right?
Well, I think he's going to be gone in the first.
I do too, but
I like Noah Dower Nielsen. For Sweden, he played well as well. I think his brother's in the league with Detroit right now. I think he's going to be a good player there. So there's all different options that Danny Briere is going to be able to have here. But I don't think he's going to be able to move up. I don't think he's going to be able to move up past whatever we do get.
Yeah, I want Danny Briere to be hockey ops. I don't want him to be doing the. I just. I think he would be better. Look, I know he says he wants to build a team, but I think the team he needs to build is the general manager and the assistant general manager team, because I think that's about all he's qualified to build right now. And I am not really feeling all that great about suddenly just handing the keys to the kingdom over to Danny Briere to just have him say, all right, here you go. Here's the keys to the Ferrari, kid. Don't scratch the paint. And I'm here to tell you, he's not even going to be able to get the car out of the freaking garage before he starts scratching paint.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt with the moves we got to make. We got to get rid of some players to be able to make some, capital to spend. And we got to be okay with that as a fan base. We got to tank for a couple of years. We got to rebuild and get rid of some bad contracts that have been left, to him. But like I said, I'd much rather see him almost lateral at this point to President Hockey Ops. I don't like some of the people that they've been interviewing. I don't like Eddie Olchuk. Scott Mellenby would be yet another prior flyer that gets a chance at running this organization. I'm kind of over that as well. If we're stuck with Danny Briere in some aspect, okay, but I'm kind of over that, and some of these other Cami Granado and stuff that it's hockey names there and stuff like that, but I don't know if she's even that much more experienced in a sense than Danny Briere at this point.
Right.
I'm just not happy with the names I'm seeing there.
No.
So why not give him that job and get a guy like, Eric Tolsky from the Hurricanes to come up, who the Pittsburgh Penguins are now rumored to be after.
If they get him, that's going to be bad for Philadelphia. I don't care what anybody says. If they get
in and make that so.
I don't care what anybody says. If Pittsburgh gets Tolsky, that's it. If the Flyers even remotely interview Olchuk, I will be highly disappointed. You're really going to interview that guy? Really?
Okay. I can't stand to hear him call a game. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey. Look, we're just, we're all here because we want to see this team succeed and we want to see them do well. But, Lance and I have done a lot of research and a lot of digging into a lot of these young players that we feel could impact this team. Do you know what I mean? And they have an opportunity this draft, potentially in the next two drafts, to pick some of these impact players that could make a difference on the team right away. You know what I mean? That are not going to be the Cutter Gautiers and be like, hey, I'm going to play for college one more year. What? Yeah, no, you need to be able to have a team where those guys want to be able to come and play and sign and be here, okay, instead of still playing in college. That's not how that's gonna work. You know what I
mean? Do you know that Will Smith, Ryan Leonard, and Gabe are all coming from Team USA to go play at Boston College next season?
And they all played on the same line. They all played on the same line in the World Juniors, and they dominated. Will Smith had a hat trick in the tournament.
Named MVP for the tournament, yeah.
Named MVP for the tournament. Pick him! Pick him! What? I mean, I don't get it. All right. I think we covered a lot of good stuff here, Lance, because there's a lot of stuff still going on with this team. The draft lottery is coming up on Monday, and I absolutely want to this is absolutely a very exciting time here for Philadelphia. They're going to find out where they're going to be able to select in the draft coming up on Monday, and I have a feeling that that's going to send a wave of things happening in the next couple weeks when teams find out where they're going to be picking, because now they're going to know what's going to be available to whom and where and what and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So we still may see some deals. I just don't want Danny Briere making those deals for the Flyers. And I know you feel the same way. We both feel that he would be better suited as hockey ops, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see that.
No. Or assistant general manager at this point, you know.
I would take that too.
Let's take baby steps here. You know, if you want him involved, let's.
Yeah, right. Just give him the assistant general manager spot. Yeah, all right.
have an experienced guy come in and, you know, better show him some tutelage there instead of what he was getting from Chuck Fletcher and Brent Flair.
Hey, from what I understand, Dave Pullian is going to be available. Why don't you ring him up? He'd be a pretty good consultant. I'm sure he'd be happy to. Anyway, all right. I'm sorry. That was horrible. But, hey, he is going to be available. But.
Yeah.
All right, my man. Well, I'll tell you what. I think we got a really good show here. I think we got some great information, and I can't wait to find out where the Flyers are going to be picking. I'm excited about that. I'm also really excited about watching the United States team win the World Junior Championships, win gold over Sweden, whom they played last year, and then watching the Canada team. Right. And that game went to overtime as well. So both games went to overtime. This was the first time that both medal games went into overtime during the same tournament. Okay. So great games, watching the Canada team, watching the Sweden team, watching the Slovak team, and watching the United States team. Great hockey games. Those kids are the future of the NHL. And the Flyers better be paying attention to these guys, and they better pick one of them.
Yeah. And, I mean, even drafts to come for Canada with Macklin Celebrini, he looks to be a force. He looks to be an absolute force. So the Flyers have, I believe, 2 picks in the 2024 draft. So hopefully, you know, if they are going the same route next year, maybe they can use that to move up and draft somebody like that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to see what goes on with that.
Awesome. Hey, Lance, do you got any fresh ink coming out this week?
Well, I want to wait till Monday to see where we are, and then I have some ideas in place and already have some stats laid out for certain stuff. So, yeah.
That sounds pretty juicy. Can't wait for that. Got to go check out Lance's latest article making a case for why Briere should be the Flyers' next president of hockey ops and not the general manager. All you have to do is go to SteelFlyers.com and check that out for sure. Also, you get to go to SteelFlyers.com/link/Hockey Writers Ink and catch all of the great stuff from the Hockey Writers Ink and all the other great stuff at SteelFlyers.com. Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get all your great stuff, my man?
Sure. I think you just did a little bit of that for me. Of course, all my articles are exclusively on SteelFlyers.com. You can also find them on any Facebook pages as well, Flyers fan pages, or on my Twitter account at LanceGreen39.
For sure. And you can also see all of Lance's articles are posted on the Steel Flyers 52 Twitter account, as well as the show is on the Hockey Writers Ink Twitter account. And I believe that's HCK Writers Ink. So go check us out on Twitter at HCK Writers Ink. For the Hockey Writers Ink Twitter account. So go check that out. And then you can find me at SteelFlyers52 on Twitter as well. Plus, you can find us at the Steel Flyers Facebook page. You can also find us on all the groups that we belong to. And you can also go to the SteelFlyers.com website where you can buy a Hockey Writers Ink t-shirt. or you can buy a Pearl of Wisdom t-shirt, or you can buy a SteelFlyers t-shirt, or you can check out the Great Prospect Watch show. Yeah, you should probably do that because we broke down all of these positions from goaltenders to centers to defensemen. So you should probably check that out. We got them all out there on the website as well, too. So check that out.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Lot in the works with Prospect Watch.
Yeah.
I am on the phones, working the phones with teams. Seasons ending now. I am trying to gain some interviews there as well.
Trying to work for you guys. Trying to work for you.
Some big names that you should know should be coming soon, hopefully. So,
like we said, they might not be household names yet, but they soon will be. Got to go check out Prospect Watch as well. That's on the SteelFlyers website as well, too. SteelFlyers.com/link/Prospect Watch. Go check that out. Thanks, Lance, for another great show, right? And we will catch you all on the next episode of Hockey Writers Ink.